Hello, dog people, music people, and podcast people. Thank you for selecting and pressing play on the Rocker Dog Podcast, the only show on the planet that talks to musicians about their dogs. I'm your host, Tim Dill, along with my handsome boy, Charlie, and today we are thrilled to have Alicia Bognanno of Bully join the show. Alicia just kicked off the tour behind her critically acclaimed album, Lucky For You, and these are her polar opposite rocker dogs.
My current dog's name is Papa, and I've had him for about 3 years. But my ultimate dog was Mezzie, who I had for 13 years.
Okay, I've read a lot about that, so I would love to celebrate Mezzie today and include her in everything we talk about, because I think even the context to Papa is going to rely on Mezzie. So for all intents and purposes, we've got two dogs to discuss, and I know you're an active foster, so I'd love to hear more about that. Back to Papa. What kind of dog is Papa?
Papa is a mixture. I got his DNA testing, and he's Chihuahua, a rat terrier, miniature poodle, it said. I don't know. He looks really rough around the edges. But yeah, that's what the DNA testing said. So.
Okay. And Mezzie was, correct me if I'm wrong, Husky, German Shepherd, Chow and Pit mix?
Yeah.
All right. Quite a combination, but beautiful girl nonetheless.
Yeah.
So since Mezzie was your first, let's go back to the context of her coming into your life. She was 13. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, she passed last year. So that puts you probably your late teens.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I got her when I was 19.
Okay. What was going on with your life at the time that you sought out to have a dog and you found Mezzie?
I had always wanted a dog. It was like my biggest dream. Every holiday I had asked for a dog. Every birthday, it was like that was all I wanted. But I had multiple siblings, and I think that it was just not in the cards for us, really. But I always had a really strong connection with dogs as a kid. I would go over to my aunt's house and sleep in her dog's bed with her dog overnight. I just had this crazy bond with dogs ever since I was born. And so I went to college, and I had a year in the dorms, and then immediately when I got out and had to move into an apartment, I got Mezzie because it was my first opportunity to get one. So yeah, okay. I had wanted her forever. And the first moment that I was able to stay in a place where she could come with me was when I got her.
Okay. And how did you find her? So when you're open to getting a dog and there's any dog in the world out there you can get, how did you go about looking for her? Did you have something else in mind? How did you guys make the connection to become, the couple that you became?
Yeah, I actually had a few people down the road who had, an unexpected litter, and they didn't know what to do with the puppies, and they were looking for people to take them. So I just that's how I got her. Okay.
And not being, experienced with the dog, what were the first couple days, weeks, months like with a puppy?
Crazy, so crazy. Because I was just a stupid 19-year-old. I was not prepared. I was living alone. I was waitressing full time. So it was just an absolute show for both of us. It was any piece of furniture I had was torn apart or peed on. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. But I mean, I think that is why it ended up being so rewarding in the end, was because I could see her change drastically throughout the years, and, both of us kind of grow together. And yeah, coming from a time where we were both just so out of control to then being older and more mellow together was really fun to kind of witness. But yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. Did you train her yourself or get any advice or have any trainers?
Yeah, I trained her myself. I didn't have any money to get a trainer. And so I trained her myself, and really just from things that I read online.
Okay. Well, I want to get into some of the fun stuff, touring and I know she's seen a lot of places, but What struck me was your obituary that you wrote for her. I just want to go through that a little bit. You said Maisie made me feel safe and empowered. I always felt accepted, understood, and so much less alone. Mezzie was living proof that I was worthy of being loved.
Mm-hmm.
And those three sentences to me cover there's security, protection, there's companionship, there's unconditional love, which for me in this show, I know this will attract a lot of dog people, but I volunteered at a shelter, and my shelter's overflowing, and I know all the shelters are overflowing.
Yeah.
And you just want people to understand the gifts that these creatures bring. And
Yeah.
I think those sentiments you just, I picked out from your Instagram, they say so much.
Mm-hmm.
But you grew up feeling agonizingly misunderstood. And I'm wondering, do you feel you have a kinship with dogs or strays or,
Yes, in a very big way. Definitely more so than I've ever felt like I connected with humans on. I think when I was growing up, I was all over the place. And now as an adult, I realized that I just am neurodivergent. I had really bad ADHD, but as a kid, that wasn't something that was discussed or treated. And I think for me, I was just kind of always felt like being different was bad or wrong, or why are you this way, or what's wrong with you? Like, why are you acting like this? Why can't you get good grades? Why are you not understanding this? Why are you dressing this way? Why do you have all these sensory things? And I also, had a difficult time kind of communicating that, especially in a space where it wasn't really something that was necessarily trying to be accepted or understood. And now as an adult, I know that, and I know what I need to do to help with that. And I think I'm in a place where people are a lot more open to that. But as a kid, kind of just failing all the time, I feel like really butchered my self-esteem. And I felt so misunderstood and unaccepted. And I think it makes total sense when I would be around animals that I just felt very connected and accepted, because I wasn't really getting that from anywhere else. I was always just kind of like this problem child that nobody could figure out. And I think what was particularly frustrating about it was I was trying, it's like I didn't really throw in the towel until I was in high school. And I was like, I'm sick of trying. I am trying so hard and I am getting nowhere. But growing up, a lot of people are measured by their success in school. And if you're just not achieving anything or getting anywhere, I think you're easily, looked at as like you're bad or you're a bad kid. And I just didn't have any of the tools or language to really understand what was going on. And yeah, looking back now, I'm just like, yeah, it checks out that I felt a way closer bond and connection to animals, because I didn't have to explain myself or try and defend myself. I could just be myself and be in their company and feel a sense of inner peace, which is really why I wanted, a dog so bad, was because I knew about that connection, but it's just hard to kind of express. So yeah, animals have played a huge part in my life as far as the security and comfort and empowerment, and even just helping my confidence, and dogs in particularly.
You've touched upon, mental health, and I know a lot of people always go to like this emotional support dog, but there is another quote I pulled that, you said she was the highlight of my day every day and my reason to keep going when I was at my lowest.
Mm-hmm.
And I think many times I hear that, but does that just go to because of the responsibility you have to her, or does it go deeper than that?
Yeah, I mean, it goes deeper than that. I think she was just at points, the only thing that I feel like I was really hanging on to, or that I had a responsibility to. But really just, I think that I had just never, I couldn't really consider ever. It was like, I feel like I could betray myself all day, but it hadn't had anything to do with betraying Mezzie. It was like out of the question for me.
Right.
And I think I just had so much love for her and was so grateful for what she gave to me, that it didn't feel like I was like, oh, I need to get myself together so that I can eye roll and do my duties as a dog mom. It just was more so like, I need to keep it together because I have so much love for this animal and she has done so much for me. And I don't know, it was just so calming. Since she died, I haven't really felt that calmness that I had with her. And I get very stressed out often and really overwhelmed, especially on the road, and being able to walk up stage and have her back there definitely was a huge mental relief to me.
Well, not to throw Papa under the bus, but does does he not provide any sense of he's just a different animal
No,
to
yeah,
you?
he's a completely different animal. And I love him in his own way, but it is not even comparable. It's hilarious how it is just like so drastically different.
Well, the last thing I'll bring up of, kind of your obituary was, and it's, you just were expressing that how much you loved Mezzie, was you said, "I'm so glad I never took any of our time together for granted," which is so profound to me because I was thinking, God, if tomorrow, my dog got into some rat poisoning or something, I would feel like I did take it for granted, because I think part of what, dogs ask so little of you that it's easy to take them for granted. And I thought that was so sweet of you to have that sentiment that although your time together has passed, that you can be grateful that it was never taken for granted.
hmm Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've lived alone most of my adult life, and so it just being her and I, there wasn't ever really anybody else who needed my attention. And yeah, I always cherished it. I feel like I was grieving her death like 2 years before she passed, honestly, just trying to accept the idea that she wouldn't be around and what that would mean to have such a force and presence in my life gone. And so I was very just like aware of this isn't going to last forever and you need to soak it up while you can.
Yeah, enjoy them. I mean, trust me, reading that, it kind of made a light bulb go off in my head to really be present with, I've got kids, so be present with your kids, but also be present with, my dog.
Right. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's try to move into more of the fun stuff. I know that Mezzie's one of your recent singles is kind of inspired by her and is kind of an ode to her. She was name checked in a song called "Reason" way back
Oh,
when.
yeah. Yeah.
Has Papa or Mezzie made it on record in terms of barking or howling?
Oh,
Or...
yeah. Yeah. Mezzie's on this record and she's on Sugar Egg. And I'm
Okay.
sure she's on the other two as well. But Mezzie was a massive part of my writing process. Mezzie would come to the studio with me, and Mezzie would sit in my writing room with me every day. So she was a huge part of it. I mean, Mezzie would sit with me. Papa's like, as soon as I strummed the guitar, he's like, "Get me out of here." But Mezzie was just like, "Yes, I'm so in it."
That's funny. I love the contrast between, I love the contrast between the two dogs. They are completely opposite looking dogs, but it sounds like personality wise as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did Poppy come into the picture? Because you posted him as a unexpected plot twist when it seemed like you had found an adopter.
Yeah. Yeah. Papa's story is so funny. So, I mean, this part of it isn't funny that he was rescued from a hoarding situation. And they basically took 60 animals off their property and needed placement for them right away. So they dropped Papa off, and Papa was the first time that I was like ever really around a really small dog. And I was like, this is interesting, a different type of situation. And then the longer he was here, it was just, he's just so funny. Like he's so quirky and such a little freak that is being around him is just hilarious because you'll look over and he'll have like his nose sticking out of a hole that he made in a blanket and we'll be like looking around, like smelling, and you're just like, what planet are you on? He's like so dramatic. It's like he'll wake me up 4 times in the night just to hold his blanket up so he can retuck himself. I'm like, okay, this is getting out of hand. But he came and I had him for a few months, and this woman wanted to adopt him, and I took him to meet with her, and didn't have a great feeling about it because she was kind of wanting to wait till he had like a few medical things done first. And I was like, I don't know about this. Like, I feel like if I really wanted a dog, I'd be like, yeah, I'm going to be with you through this, because moving forward, things are going to come up and you're going to have that responsibility. But the agency was like, oh no, it's fine. We feel okay about it. And I was like, okay. So she came to pick up Papa, and I was like, just tearing up. And I was like, I can't believe this. And kind of handed him off. And I went to bed that night, very emotional. And I woke up, and like the first thing I thought was like, what did I do? And I checked my phone. It was 7 a.m. and it was a text from this person who was like, can I bring him back? I didn't know what I was doing. This isn't gonna work. And my first thought was like, oh my God, is this like, am I dreaming? This is incredible. And then my second thought was like, what the hell did you do in the 13 hours that made someone be like, I can't do this anymore? Like, what did you do? I want to know. I wish I had camera footage of the way that he acted. And so then he came back, and I was like, super stoked. And then somebody else, like a month later, had interest, and I was like, I need to just keep him, because otherwise he's going to get adopted. And him and Mezzie had this insane bond. I had never seen anything like it before in my life. Like, Mezzie was always really, really dominant, and, was kind of anyone who would come in, she wanted to like show that she was the boss and whatever, whatever. And the first time that Papa came, there was like this strange understanding where it was just like, for the first time, this was probably about 10 years at the time, for the first time in like 10 years, he came, and she was just like very still and very peaceful and very gracious with him. And it was so bizarre. And I always joke that Papa is Mezzie's dog, because Papa was just like baby kangarooed in her stomach all day, every day. It was crazy. I think all the time I'm like, I can't believe I got to experience that relationship, because it was truly like, when they would ride in the car together, he would climb on top of her and sit on top of her. If she was in the front seat, like sitting up, he would crawl in her stomach and be like, it was just unbelievable. And I feel very lucky that I got to see that, because it was like, if I had the energy to do an Instagram account solely based on them, I'm sure it would be viral.
Yeah, I was going to say the video, you do a video of them in the car seat where Mezzie seems to be kind of like stepping over her and sitting half
Yeah.
On him. I keep calling Papa her. How did Papa take Mezzie's passing?
It's so bad. So horribly. It was very bad. He wouldn't get out of bed for a really long time. For months, I would have to carry him in the morning to go outside. He just lost interest in everything. He completely stopped eating for a long time.
Wow.
He's just now kind of getting into eating consistently again. He completely changed. I realized a lot of times where I thought he was being protective of me, he was really being protective of Mezzie. And when I actually had him through training shortly after I adopted him, because he really needed to work on walking and being less reactive. And so I would have a trainer over, and while we were working together, she would bring other dogs, and we kind of came to realize that when the other dog would be in the house, if he would kind of start to play with Mezzie, that's when Papa would be like very protective. And same with when we were on walks. And I also always thought that Papa was interested in me, but then when Mezzie passed away, I was like, oh, you weren't following me around the house, you were following Mezzie around the house. But he took it awfully. It was so sad. Everything, like, he completely changed.
Yeah, I guess I've never really heard it that profound before. Was it immediate? Like, did it take a couple days to realize that Mezzie's not around, or could they sense what was happening right away?
I think that he had an idea of what was going on, but it was pretty immediate. I don't remember exactly, maybe there was a day or two of just kind of being like, what was going on? Yeah, it was very quick after, if it wasn't immediate. And he never bounced back. And that was like a thing in itself, because there's also the pain of just wishing that you could explain to him what happens.
Yeah.
You know, like for a while I was like, I hope he doesn't think I'm like disappearing dogs, because then I started to foster and I was like, oh no, like how is this going to affect him? But so many of his habits changed. Like he wouldn't eat his food in the same place that he used to eat with her. And all these things that kind of made me question, like, I wonder if he thinks, I would hate if he thinks that this was like my fault or by choice. Like I really wish that he could understand. And that is just hard to kind of grapple with in your head on its own, because you just feel so bad. But
What's odd, I was gonna say you communicate so well with, this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about not being able to be understood. And I think when you have a kinship with an animal, you start to understand each other. But then, there's that added frustration when you can't communicate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was also going to say there was something very strange happened. Was Papa was always very reactive. If anybody was on the property or even walking by, or if they were at the door, he would like lose his mind, go absolutely crazy. And the day after she passed, I was brought her ashes after she had been cremated. And the only time in his life that I've had him that he hasn't barked at the door and absolutely lost his mind was when they dropped off her ashes.
Right.
Truly bizarre. I was like, I don't know if you can like smell it or sense it, but he just stood there like very coldly looking at the door and just watching what was going on. And I have never seen him do that before in his life.
Wow. That's interesting. Again, yeah, that goes to like they're a sense that we don't have, or just they understand this in a deeper sense than we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I didn't mean to slide back into the heavy stuff, but have they both been on tour with you?
Papa has not been on tour with me.
Okay.
I mean, Papa's been on trips with me, but I need to kind of test the waters and make sure that if he were to go on tour, it wouldn't stress him out, and make him, I'm like, is this for me or is this
or
for
you?
Yeah, or me, yeah. But maybe if there's like a weekend run, I'll take him. But he is just a lot different than Mezzie. He's really anxious and he doesn't do as well when, he has not basically.
And is it safe to assume Mezzie on the road was good? And, at a venue, it's like everyone loves the dog. Petting a dog is a nice break, especially in the industry you guys are in where you're transient all the time. It's just a way to ground yourself in the band and the opening bands and the people around you.
Yeah. Yeah, it was great. She was just like a joy. Even in the car, everybody was just like smiling because she was just sitting up, like grinning so big. And she had these like massive headphones that she would wear all the time with earplugs. It was so cute. But ideally, I would be able to just load in and stuff and then bring her back to the hotel and play and then come back and be with her. But yeah, she was a total joy for anybody who was able to be around her.
That's great. Now, I noticed they both had T-shirts. Who outsold one another?
Mezzie.
Oh, really? For sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Mezzie was like a part of Bully. I think when Mezzie, people that had followed Bully forever had known about Mezzie from the start. So Mezzie had her own fan club.
Deservedly so.
Yes.
Okay, switching gears to fostering. I see a dog behind you. Is there a brown? Do you still have that? What was it, Cheddar?
No, that's just Papa, but he's fully tucked in his blanket.
Okay.
No, I don't have one right now. I'm supposed to get one in tonight. But I leave Thursday for the UK. So maybe I'll come. The shelters are so overflowed right now that they're kind of just taking any time that they can get with somebody, but yeah.
I noticed that, when you do post stuff, you get a lot of fellow musicians that, pipe in, and you can, fellow dog lovers. And there's one by Bethany Cosentino when you had that German, I think it was a German, or it was a Husky mix with these beautiful eyes.
Yeah, Coda.
And she said, "Oh my God, you did it." And your response was, "Had to."
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, was had to because of what you were just talking about? It was just a dire situation where, there's overflow and these pups need home, or was there something else more
Oh,
to
no,
it?
no, no. Had to meant to me like there's no way I could help myself from doing that. Like
Okay.
I always am like, this is a really bad time for me to foster, but I get an email with the dogs and I'm like, okay, I can make this happen. Like I'm always doing that because I just can't say no because I love them so much. It's so exciting for me. So when I said had to, I meant like I had to. There was no
Okay.
way that I could pass it up.
Okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that versus,
Yeah.
had to, it was a desperate situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's wind things up with what I call the zoomies, and that's just 5 quick questions, mostly frivolous. The first one is, do you kiss your dogs on the mouth?
No. I mean,
Okay.
I kiss them like right by the mouth, but not like on
It's a trick
not on the
question.
lips.
Yeah, I was going to say, do they even have lips? But
Yeah.
you're in the general vicinity.
Yeah.
Okay, given this is probably for Mezzie, and this is a shameless name drop. I'm looking for shameless name dropping.
Okay.
But has Mezzie licked anyone famous?
I don't think so. I mean, when
Like
I
fellow
think
musicians or fellow well-known musicians
oh, yeah.
that the public would know?
Yeah, I mean, maybe like, oh God, I don't know. I don't know.
Okay, that's okay. I'll let you off the hook on that one. Question 3 is if, and this is for either dog, Mezzie's been on tour with you. Obviously, you're saying Papa hasn't. But if when they are on tour with you, what would they insist be on their tour rider?
Bones. I had dog bones on my rider when I toured with
Did you really?
Yeah.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that. Okay. Question 4 is, do you have a dog voice?
Oh, yeah.
A dog voice, do you speak to them, or a dog voice you give them?
A
Or
dog
both?
voice that I give them. Yeah. Yeah, everyone has an assigned dog voice, I feel like, for the dogs over here. And I mean, I'm sure I have a dog voice that I speak to them too.
What was the difference between the two dogs? What was Mezzie's personality through your voice?
Well, Mezzie was sometimes kind of a valley girl and then sometimes like very dramatic. Papa's voice is usually like old raspy smoker. That's his kind of vibe. He's been around the block.
Yeah.
Or it's very, very high pitched, like chipmunky. He goes back and forth between the two.
Very, very versatile dog. Very versatile dog. Okay, last but not least, I know you do a lot of rescue work. Is there a dog organization or service you'd like to give a shout out to?
Yeah, Wags and Walks.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they're local. Are they local in Nashville?
Yeah, and I think they have a company in LA too.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I know they do, but it might also be in a couple other locations, but Nashville and LA are what I know of.
Okay. Actually, I think we might have highlighted them before, so I will get more information and give it to our listeners in the outro.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Alicia, thank you so much. Like I said, I've been looking forward a long time to speaking to you about your dogs. I know you're a dog lover, and I really appreciate you giving me your time.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Thank you, Alicia Bognanno of Bully, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to share your dogs Mezzie and Papa with us. The dog organization Alicia chose to shout out is Wags and Walks, a nonprofit organization and a dedicated community of dog lovers whose main goal is to break the stigma around rescue dogs and decrease the numbers of dogs euthanized in local shelters by proving that you can rescue wonderful pups of all breeds, sizes, and temperaments. To adopt, foster, donate, or volunteer, visit wagsandwalks.org. Thanks as always for tuning into the show, especially if you made it this far. Word of mouth is a powerful thing, so please help us spread the word to music-loving dog people who would appreciate a show such as this. We'll be back next week with another brand new episode featuring a bassist whose band's 2022 album was their breakout hit that put them over the top. So by all means, mark your calendars for that. All right, We've run out of bullet points. We've run out of talking points. We've run out of script. We'll see you next week, dog people.